Hello everybody, and how are you? It's been quite a long time since I've done a favourites video, and I've got a few things that I just thought were particularly super lately. And whenever I find enough things that I think are super enough to mention to you, I will mention to you. A couple of musical recommendations, something to watch which I thought was really cool, and a lot of like makeup stuff. Let us proceed. First of all, I mean, I've had this disc for quite a while and I've been meaning to talk about it for a while, but if you don't know about this album, then I think you ought to. You may be familiar with the band Whispers in the Shadow. They're a much beloved band who've been around more than 20 years. I'm pretty sure I received this album before it came out, which made me feel very special. And I immediately thought, that's just a really good album. So I've been meaning to talk about it for bloody ages. Whispers in the Shadow you will often see playing at big goth festivals and stuff. So this album, Yesterday is Forever, I don't know if it's intentional or not, but like the name especially just makes me think, especially like the name of the first track, which is Forever 1985, makes me think of those people who like live in the past and only ever share pictures of themselves from the past. I don't know, maybe it's not meant to, but it makes me think of like people from the scene or whatever who just, oh, things were better in the past, things were better in the 80s and the 90s and blah 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 blah. I know so many people like that, so I don't know, that's what that makes me think of anyway. I'll link this below for you so you can have a listen to it and see if it's your thing. I know so many people who are like huge fans of Whispers in the Shadow. I just think this is a really good, solid album, you know, beautifully put together with some beautiful instrumentation. So I've really enjoyed it and I thought you might really enjoy it too. I couldn't say which is my favorite track. I quite liked The Horror first time I heard that, although Forever 1985 is a great song. But I think The Horror kind of like, I don't know, I just thought like it sounds cool. It's got like cool, creepy instrumentation and stuff. Ooh. My next musical recommendation, you probably know, especially if you come onto my streams, that believe it or not, my favorite band is not a goth band. My favorite band of all time is Rammstein. I just fucking love Rammstein, and I deify Till Lindemann a little bit. The sense of heartbreak I felt when I learned that his side project Lindemann had split up was, oh, crushing. I loved that project. It's just, oh, it's so good. And now I'm sad I will never get to see it performed live, but it seems that Till has gone out on his own and has done another solo side project which is just called Till Lindemann. And he has recently brought out a single called Ich hasse Kinder, I hate children, and he brought it out on International Children's Day, which was pretty funny. I know it's a little ironic that I'm mentioning this as a favourite, but it's just such a great track. It's not just a single. He also brought out a short film for the song, and just be warned, it's very gory. I'll link that below for you as well if you want to go have a wee watch. Such a fucking cool song, and just he's just such an amazing artist. He is my art god. I love all his videos and music videos, you know, even if they're like really gory or really dark, and this is a very gory short film, really great. So if you're a Till Lindemann or a Rammstein fan and you haven't seen Ich hasse Kinder, the short film, or listen to the track, then go do that after watching this. Next I'll talk about some like makeup stuff that I've really come to love and rely on the last while, like really. If you've ever watched any of my makeup videos in the past, you will have always seen me using L'Oreal the Black Buster. Like, that eyeliner was my favorite go-to staple eyeliner for years, and then they bloody well discontinued it. Of course, that always happens. It was quite a chunky eyeliner, so I found it quite useful for doing eyebrows and like, not for like little details, but doing like chunky stuff. Anyway, L'Oreal has come through again with this weird looking thing. This to me is quite a lot like the Black Buster, but it's thin, and it's for me, it's now my favorite everyday go-to eyeliner, and it's called Flash Cat Eye, my super liner. My only complaint about it is that, I don't know if you can even see that, but if you don't put the cap on properly, sometimes like little bits of the brush sort of start to bend backward. It's a brush, but it goes on like a felt pen, and the formula's excellent. What I think makes a good eyeliner, it should be elastic, it shouldn't crackle or crinkle or flake off, and very importantly, it should go over other things. So many eyeliners won't go over foundation or powder or eyeshadow. It's like, why bother? You'll notice it has a rather funny looking lid, which I think is quite a sweet idea actually. What the lid is a stencil which comes out. So the idea of the stencil is that like you can use it to help position and accurately draw on a cat eye eyeliner wing, which I think is quite sweet. Quite a nice idea, and it works. I've tried it. I'm more of a just kind of, you know, sweep and go for it and see what it looks like in the end with the eyeliner, but this is my new favorite everyday eyeliner, L'Oreal Flash Cat Eye, and obviously you can very easily spot it in shops because of its funny shaped lid. Keeping with eyes, something else that I've used like every day that I've put makeup on, and even Mr. Owl, I think he's gone through more of it than I have. He started using it around his eyes. I think he's gone through like 2 or 3 tubs of it now. I love to buy stuff from little independent makeup brands and that, but here in New Zealand the choices are very limited, okay? Getting stuff off the internet can be extremely difficult and expensive. I'm just getting the things that are available here. So those like big brands like L'Oreal, Maybelline, Revlon, etc. But this is a wonderful thing. So this is Revlon Color Stay Cream Eyeshadow Bold in the shade Tuxedo. I know my makeup looks a bit shit right now, but this like dark part, like the really dark black bits around my eyes, that's what this is. You can see like I've used quite a lot of it there, but it's this bloody excellent, really easy to control, heavily black pigmented cream eyeshadow that I like to put on with like a sort of firm, thin little brush, and it blends really easily. And like I said, Mr. Owl uses it all the time for just putting, I think it's just easy for him, you know, because he can just sort of put it on and smudge it and it's like boom. Also the lid has a wee brush in it, which is quite sweet. It does kind of like cake up brushes after a while, so something to do is to keep your brush shampooed from time to time. But this cream eyeshadow is just so much more bold than like an ordinary eyeshadow. So what I've been doing is putting on my ordinary like powder black eyeshadow and then putting some of this over the top to make it like really black. I think it's great. Not only that, I've also been using a different color of it sometimes on my cheeks. It was like a taupe one. I didn't grab it for some reason, but like I put a wee bit on my cheeks and smudge it in instead of using powder for a contour. It's quite good. A lot of people, when I've been doing live streams, because I've done a lot of live streams and stuff the last few months, a lot of people will ask me, oh, what shade is that lipstick you have on? And it's usually this one here. It's Maybelline Superstay Matte Ink in the shade Huntress. I have it on right now, but over the top of it I've got like a wee bit of a red glossy lip tint because I like to have a bit of red bloody look on my lips as well. How would you describe it? Sort of slightly lavendery greyish. I just love it. So my favourite lipstick has always been like NYX Moonwalk, and this is a very similar colour to that, only it's a different formula. It's a liquid lipstick, whereas that's a billet, and well, I'll show you. It's like this. It's one of these, and it goes on very, very thickly. While it's wet, you can kind of smudge it so that it's not quite so thick and it looks really nice. I think it would be flattering on a variety of skin tones. It's a beautiful cool shade. I feel like cool shades of lipstick are not as common. Ooh, yeah, what would you call that? It's a slightly lavender tinged sort of grayish color, isn't it? You don't need to use a lip liner, it doesn't bleed, just stays on really well. I just absolutely love this lipstick. Another makeup product I've become absolutely like reliant on, and you know how, well, again, if you've ever seen any of my makeup videos, I will always put like a clear powder, sometimes a white powder, but usually these days I'll put like a clear powder over the top of my foundation to kind of set it and stop it going glossy or whatever. L'Oreal has brought out this infallible magic loose powder. Well, they've brought it out ages ago. I guess I only just sort of discovered it a few months ago. It's a bit more expensive than what I would usually go for, but I just wanted to try it, and then I fell in love with it, and now nothing is as good. And I've never really been a fan of loose powders. They do tend to crumble everywhere, which this one does, but I guess I'm just not very careful. What's quite interesting about this powder, I don't know if you can tell, but it's faintly blue. Faintly blue, which looks extremely good on my skin. I found a while ago that blue primers, I was like, I love blue primers. Do you know how hard it is to find blue primers? Like, I was always using this Australis brand blue primer called Ice Queen, and of course they discontinued it. They kept all the other shades. I guess just not enough people want a blue primer. Fine, but it works really, really well for me, blue, for some reason. This isn't like blue, like it doesn't look blue when it goes on. It just looks like kind of radiant and magical. Like it really has this effect of illuminating the skin. It's really good for under eyes. It just kind of, it has like a, how can I even explain it? Almost like a blurring effect. It's the best powder I've ever used. And you don't need to use all that much of it. It goes on really well. It stays on. It's called Infallible Magic Loose Powder, and it is magic. I can't explain it. It's just, magical. I love it, it's great, and I hope it never goes away, but knowing the trend of, as you've heard so far, my luck, it probably will get discontinued. So speaking of powders, this is a lifesaver for greasy, oily skin. I wish I'd had this stuff years ago. Years ago I used to use blotting paper. I don't get so much oily skin now as I used to. I used to get like really quite oily skin that I'd have to use like blotting paper to blot up the oil, which was pretty good. This shit is incredible. This comes in two forms. What this is a completely clear pigmentless powder that absorbs oil on your face. It absorbs sebum and oil, and I don't know how it works, but it works. It's from the brand Innisfree, which is a very good brand. I first discovered this stuff at the Asian grocery shop and I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. I'd say probably very good for summer as well. It seems to absorb like sweat. It's got a very pleasant, slightly minty scent to it. So when I put it on, especially, I'll use this usually when I'm not wearing any other makeup. So just on days where I've got like a bit of sunscreen on and I don't want my face to get shiny, I'll just pat a wee bit of this onto the oiliest parts of my face, or sweatiest parts of my face. So like up here, under here, my nose, chin. So it comes in the form of a pressed compact like that with a wee sponge. Also a loose version I think is better, but you do go through it a wee bit more quickly. If you want like to get a whole lot of it at once, the loose powder is really good. Innisfree No Sebum Mineral Powder, and this being the No Sebum Mineral Pack. It's also not super expensive. It's bloody effective. Seriously, where was this stuff when I was a greasy spotty teenager? Put it over makeup, put it on with nothing else, it stops the face getting shiny. If you watch my recent video with my like humongous, it was a long video, humongous review of like Korean skincare products, then you would have heard me talking about the brand CosRX. One of the most important things, especially if you're a delicate ginge like me, is sunscreen. And if I was putting makeup on, I used to never ever wear sunscreen on my face because I had never found a sunscreen that makeup, especially foundation, and you might be able to tell I do pack it on, will go over. Most sunscreens for the body do get pretty greasy. I've had plenty of experience with sunscreens. I used to do agriculture. Yes, I worked in an orchard for 5 years. So I spent a lot of time outside getting burnt, and so I've had plenty of practice being covered in greasy, slimy sunscreen. So since discovering Korean skincare, I've tried a few of the sunscreens available, and this is by far my favorite. It's got a funny name. It's CosRX All Green Comfort Sun. I love this sunscreen. It's just wonderful. It's by no means cheap, but you don't need to use very much of it at a time, so I think it's quite worth it. Why I love this sunscreen is it's mattifying. When it goes on, your face is matte. At least that's what I've noticed. It creates a nice smooth base for putting makeup on. Makeup, thick foundation, whatever, goes on over this sunscreen. It's SPF 50 by the way, so it's pretty strong. I also like it because it doesn't smell like sunscreen. It smells like tea. It does. It smells like tea. It says it's got Centella Asiatica in it, so it's very good for the skin, and moringa, which I can't remember what that is. There's no like greasy feeling left behind, and it doesn't feel or smell like sunscreen at all. I'm obsessed with it, and I hope it never gets discontinued. Yummy. Just one more thing I want to mention that I really enjoyed lately. I wasn't sure if I was going to, but I did. So if you follow me on Twitch, I have Twitch now, you'll know that I regularly go on there to play Assassin's Creed Black Flag, because I wanted to find a game where I got to steer ships around, sail ships, and like engage in like sea battles and stuff like that, because I actually really like that kind of thing. I like ships, I like sail ships, I like pirates, and I like history, but I'm not here to talk about the game. My dad actually recommended me a TV program. He said, have you seen Black Sails? I think you'd enjoy Black Sails. It's quite historical and it's all about pirates with like Blackbeard and stuff like that. And because my dad usually recommends me documentaries and non-fiction, that kind of thing, that's what I assumed it was. I assumed it was going to be like a non-fiction documentary series about pirates. It's just a really bloody good series set in Nassau in the first half of the 18th century. It's just a really well written show. Like, it's interesting because a lot of the characters in it were real people who existed, and a lot of them were also like fictional characters from Treasure Island. So for example, it's got like Jack Rackham and Anne Bonny and Charles Vane, but it's also got Captain Flint and Long John Silver. Apart from like that aspect of it, it's actually pretty historically accurate. Like, you know, the setting and everything is very historically accurate. It's very nice looking, some great actors in it. The writing is excellent. I feel like the first season, maybe not that great, but like stick with it. and after you get past the first season, it just gets kind of progressively like more and more exciting. And I think if you were ever a fan of Game of Thrones, you will enjoy this. Every episode is like I have to keep watching, I have to know what happens next. I don't actually know where you can find it. I don't know if it's on Netflix or Amazon or wherever, I don't know, but I watched it on the TV here. Like if you're in New Zealand, it's on TVNZ on demand. Yeah. So those are my latest favorites. Thank you very much for watching. I'll put, like I said, any sort of like necessary links to anything in the description box below, so you can go have a wee look for yourself. Probably also just like make a page on my website, which I'll link below too as well. Sorry, I sound really breathless. It's because I am. It's because my lungs are being crushed upwards by another small person. I can hardly breathe. Anyway, if you have not already subscribed to my channel, please do. You know you want to. That would be most super of you. And as always, take care of yourself, be nice to each other, and I will see you next time.